It's strange how a city as beautiful as Paris can hold such dark secrets. I moved there in 1943, at the height of World War II, seeking refuge from the chaos engulfing Europe. As an aspiring journalist, I believed Paris still had stories waiting to be told, even under Nazi occupation. Little did I know, one story would almost cost me my life. I first heard the name, Dr. Satan, in hushed whispers at a smoky cafe near Montmartre. It was a nickname born from fear for a man named Dr. Marcel Petiot, a well-respected physician. At first, I thought it was wartime paranoia, wild rumors to distract from the despair. But the unease in people's eyes when they spoke of him planted a seed of curiosity in my mind. The stories painted him as a savior of sorts. He offered desperate refugees a way out of occupied France, promising safe passage to Spain for a price. But the whispers warned that none who entered his clinic on Rue Lesueur ever returned. As a journalist, I couldn't resist. I decided to investigate. I showed up at his clinic under the guise of needing help to flee the city. The receptionist, a woman with unervingly pale eyes, led me to a dimly lit waiting room. The walls were lined with dusty bookshelves, but the titles were odd: anatomy, embalming techniques, and poisons. The air smelled faintly of formaldehyde, mixed with something metallic. Dr. Petiot entered, his demeanor warm and fatherly. He wore a crisp white coat, his round glasses glinting in the dim light. He shook my hand firmly, his smile disarming. "You're here for safe passage, yes?" he asked, his voice smooth and calculated. I nodded, trying to mask my nerves. He explained his process, detailing how he would administer a vaccine to protect against disease during the journey. Then he would arrange everything, a simple solution for such a desperate time. But something in his eyes unsettled me, a flicker of something predatory behind the kind facade. I agreed to his terms, playing along to gain his trust. He instructed me to return the next evening for the preparations. That night I couldn't sleep. I decided to dig deeper, speaking to anyone who had connections in the underground resistance. A man named Jules, a former smuggler, confirmed my worst fears. He described screams coming from Petiot's clinic late at night, followed by an acrid smell. Some said he was dismembering his victims, burning their remains in his basement furnace. The next evening, I returned to the clinic, my pulse pounding. This time, I carried a small camera and a knife concealed under my coat. Dr. Petiot greeted me with the same warm smile and led me to a back room. It was sparse, a metal examination table, cabinets filled with syringes, and a single door leading to what I assumed was the infamous basement. He motioned for me to sit. "I'll administer the vaccine now," he said, preparing a syringe. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I had to see what lay behind that door. When his back was turned, I made my move. I grabbed the knife and held it to his throat. "Take me downstairs," I demanded. His calmness was chilling. He simply smiled and said, "As you wish." He led me down the narrow stairs, the smell of burning flesh growing stronger with each step. The basement was a nightmare, a butcher's den. Blood stains on the walls, surgical tools laid out meticulously, and a furnace roaring in the corner. My stomach churned as I saw piles of bones, stripped clean. "You see now, don't you?" Petiot said, his voice eerily steady. "These people, they trusted me. They paid for freedom and I gave it to them in my own way." I lunged at him, but he was quicker. He grabbed a scalpel from a nearby table, slicing my arm. The pain was sharp, but adrenaline surged through me. I managed to shove him into the furnace door, his glasses clattering to the floor. As I scrambled back up the stairs, I could hear him laughing, a deep, guttural sound that echoed in my nightmares long after. I bolted through the clinic, the receptionist nowhere in sight, and didn't stop running until I reached the safety of Jules's hideout. My hands shook as I recounted what I'd seen, my arm bleeding profusely. A week later, the Gestapo raided his clinic, uncovering horrors even worse than I'd imagined. Over 20 bodies in various stages of dismemberment. It turned out that Petiot had been operating for years, exploiting the desperate and vulnerable under the guise of kindness. His arrest was swift, But his trial revealed an even more twisted mind than anyone could have expected. I later learned that he never showed remorse. In fact, he reveled in his notoriety, claiming that his victims were enemies of the state. I tried to write about him, but no words could capture the pure evil I had seen. Even now, decades later, I still wake up sweating, the smell of burning flesh haunting my senses. They called him a monster. I knew better. Dr. Marcel Petiot wasn't just a monster. He was evil incarnate. And to this day, I can't shake the feeling that his shadow still lingers in Paris, watching, waiting for his next patient.